So I think we have two questions, so let's take them one by one. Well, first about the entrance exams, I think we should ask Professor Mishima to declare what Tokyo Tech will do, because we had a large applause from the audience. Well, I don't think I can make any declaration here, but as we carry out this education reform, we do have to look at the entrance exam system. And already, the entrance exam office is looking at what should the entrance exam be like for Tokyo Tech. So we have this centralized exam here for national universities, but is that the best for Tokyo Tech? That included, we will also try to reform the way we select. Excuse me. Hi. Yes, excuse me. So, yes, sorry. I was using the wrong channel. Excuse me. Well, so we are trying to look at the entrance exam, what it should be for Tokyo Tech. As we go on with this education reform, of course, changing the exam, entrance exam in just 2 years may be too drastic. So we will be considering what is the best way to go for Tokyo Tech as we move along with the education reform. Now, going on about the donations and the philanthropy. I think in the handouts we have included a slip saying we want your donation.
So I'm going back to the discussion on the how to fundraising to the aluminum alloy. So could you give me some comment on that things?
Maybe to speak to our Berkeley alumni here who has been solicited for his funds, may I offer the following observation too. I hold 2 degrees from Berkeley, my master's and my PhD. I get calls from students who say, we need more money to support the faculty at Berkeley. Would you like to contribute? So I have to applaud our students for taking on this mission because they are quite successful. I continue to give more every year, and I also find that we are suffering this problem of, as I mentioned earlier, of not being able to reach the older alumni who, as they were students, it was easier to afford the tuition at that time that they were paying at that time. Now, because the tuition is much higher, we have to change the mentality so that our current tuition rate will be understood by those older alumni who now will be told that it's important for you to give back to the institution. We do need your support. You must pass it on now. We want to provide the same education that you receive to the next generation. And if we can do it in this way, everyone wins. I would just make one more comment about the state support in California. Yes, it's dismal. We used to be called a state-supported institution. Many of my colleagues now like to say that we are state-assisted. And in the worst case, we are now being called state-located.
Thank you very much.
I wanted, your question is a great question about alumni support, and I want to make 2 points. MIT considers its peers. That is, when we admit a student, who are the universities where, if they also admit a student, there's a good chance the student will go to that other university. And I'm sorry, Ron, but for MIT, our peers are Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. So those are, in some sense, with MIT, five of the great schools in the United States. There are many other great places to get an education, great public schools like Berkeley. But if you think about those five schools, they have one thing in common, or many things in common, but one of the things they have in common is they all have very significant endowments. And we use it to support our education. So let me give you the second example. When we talk about an MIT education, the cost of an MIT education, we often use three numbers: 20, 40, 80. We estimate that it costs us $80,000 per year to educate each student. That's what we need for teaching, what we need to pay faculty salaries, what we need for facilities. In a research-intensive environment, it's expensive, so $80,000. Our tuition is $40,000, a little bit more than $40,000. But our net tuition, that is, what does a family on average pay after we provide financial aid, as Ron said so well about Berkeley, is $20,000. So in fact, many students, the average student at MIT will pay $20,000 to come to us. The reason I give it to you is this is an American difference perhaps than other places, but the elite schools, the elite private schools in the United States, public schools are in a different setting, although many of them do it very well. We rely on our alumni to provide a base that allows us to train the next generation of students. So I sometimes say to students, look, our job as professors, we need to make sure you have such an effective and powerful experience at MIT that 20 years from now or 10 years from now, you will give the funds to educate the next generation of students. But we cannot do it off of tuition alone, and we cannot do it off of government support alone.
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. Dr. Henderson.
Some comment on the discussion up to now, especially for the mobility between Japan and United States. How do you feel about this current situation, and also give us some comment on that?
I think it's useful to acknowledge that each of the speakers has highlighted the significance of international experiences and collaboration. I think that that's a common theme that we've heard over and over, and most of the the basic research funding mechanisms within the U.S. are sensitive to that, and wanting to create ways to enhance that kind of international experience, whether it be an exchange of students or faculty. Ironically, a number of the American faculty in institutions that I guess the majority of faculty who are not at elite institutions, such as our colleagues here at the panel, are not aware of many of those mechanisms. And that's unfortunate, and something that hopefully we can rectify with more outreach. But there are a number of opportunities in place to enable greater international engagement throughout the academic pipeline and at the professional level that researchers can avail themselves of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have a comment on that? Okay.